Let's shift on this and talk a little bit about the carnage that Brexit has created. I mean, aside from just this court case, it's been a week of bloody stool. I mean, story after story about how patients are going to have to wait years for new drugs. The Irish Prime Minister just warned that talks could turn vicious. That massive story last week about the complexity of leaving the EU. It's so complex that it would overwhelm politicians and the civil service for years. And this was an academic group that put this out there. Not to mention the fact that the economy is just cratering. I mean, last week we talked about the banks possibly leaving by the end of 2017. House price growth is at a standstill. And let me tell you, nothing upsets voters more than stagnant or falling house prices. Petrol prices, which nobody talks about, are up 19% this year, due largely to the fall in the value of the pound. And Moody yesterday warned of a potential UK credit downgrade. And we go back to our good friend Baldrick, our cunning plan to have no plan.
Plan.
What do we mean when we say Brexit means Brexit in light of this new court case?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is... I mean, were people ready for this? Almost certainly not. No. I would suggest, when they voted to come out, and there were reasons why, and many friends of mine voted to, it's about sticking two fingers up at the EU. That's the way they vote. They weren't voting for a cratering, tanking economy and the pound plunging. They weren't voting for that. And inflation will rise. That's another thing. As we import more and the pound's gone down,
and we'll have to pay tariffs for everything.
So they're talking about inflation of 4% next year, and it'll go up almost certainly. Were they voting for that? No. Unbelievable.
Paul, what are you hearing on the economy?
Well, I was going to say one of the interesting things is, of course, Mark Carney, who works for the Bank of England, who was everyone expected to stay in post till 2021, is now basically enacting a break clause, for a better term, that allows him to leave in 2019 because of the uncertainty that Brexit causes to the British economy. And we've seen the Nissan deal, whatever that is, where the government has given some sort of guarantees, even though no one's telling us exactly what they are, to Nissan to keep them manufacturing in the UK. And where does this end? Those who are big in terms of wanting to leave the EU will tell us that everything is fine. And yet when you look at the minute detail, it's clear that there are problems, and major problems, on the horizon. There is talks now of a quadrupling of inflation next year. That when that starts hitting people in their pockets.
Well, it not only will hit in the pockets, but all of these people that are on these adjustable mortgages are suddenly going to see the bank rates are going to go up through the roof. I mean, right now we have zero rates, which is another big issue of the economy. The fact that even people who want to save for 5 years can't get any sort of a return at all after fees and everything else on their money. And if all of a sudden now your house price goes up 300, 500, £1,000 a month because your interest rate's gone up 4 or 5 points, then you're going to see people losing their homes, and you'll see the actual economy crater at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't think people were voting for these things, were they?
No.
I mean, it's really sort of sparring the works, this blinking court case.
True.